Hi, in this video we're going to have fun with fonts for lesson 5. I'm going to break it into a couple of different sections, one working with margins and indents and then working with tabs and bulleted lists. So we'll start with margins first of all. The document that I would like you to open from the data files is in lesson 5. It's called Diet. And so I will navigate to the BizEd directory, and from there in lesson 5, and once again it's called Diet. Then, as a reminder, save it to your U drive directory so that we aren't saving over the top of something in the data files. So navigate to the folder you've set up for computer apps and you'll be ready to go. We're going to save this as American Diet with your initials. Very good. Okay, now I am beginning in your book on page 107 if you'd like to also follow along with the step-by-steps. First of all, I don't know if you knew of this button right above your right scroll bar here, but if for some reason your rulers are ever missing, you can just click on it and they'll come back. You can also do that by going to View and Rulers if they don't show, but that's a little easier shortcut. First thing that we're going to do is start in page layout because we're going to look at margins. This is pretty easy. The standard margin setting is the normal setting, which has 1 inch top, left, right, and bottom. And if you've ever customized them, you will always see a little star by that. I have used one where I've set up 1/2 inch margins all the way around, and so that shows as my last custom setting. Let's go ahead and open up the custom setting. And what we're going to practice doing here is we're going to change the top margin to 0.7, and as you know, if you just click on the little down arrow, it goes down in increments of 1/10 of an inch to get to the particular setting that you want. So we're going to practice making this top margin just a little less than an inch, and we'll make that change, and we can see that it jumped up right here. If you want to zoom out, you can also see how we've still got a couple of lines in this example that go on to another page, but that's just fine. So we'll just leave our zoom at 100% as we continue on. And the next thing we're going to work with is alignment, and some of this will be a review. What I want you to do is we're going to come and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to center, going back to the Home tab, the title, and wherever your cursor is, if you highlight a phrase, you can center that way, or wherever your cursor is, it will center that particular section of your document. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and center the word introduction. So I'll just put my cursor anywhere there, or I could highlight that word and center it. These are all things that you have practiced with a lot. And next thing I want you to practice in clicking anywhere under this federal dietary guidelines. I want you to go to this full justification option. What that means is that stretches the right margin out so that it's very crisp and clean. Newspapers like to do this. If you look at a newspaper sometime, you'll notice both the left and the right margins are all in a straight vertical line with their information. Next, please press Control End on your keyboard so you jump down to the very end of your document, and we're going to right align prepared by Robert Sanchez. And so I'll highlight, since we want to do more than one line, and right align is that shortcut right there. So then his name is right align to make it set off from the rest of the information. Now we're going to go back up to the top, so let's go to Control Home, which jumps us up to the top of our document. And what we're going to do is we are going to practice, and if you jump in your book to page 110, you can see a little guide in addition to what I'm doing. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to the third paragraph here, to the sentence that begins, or the paragraph, excuse me, that begins, many groups and individuals from healthy professions, etc. You'll notice that is a direct quote from one of the sites that this particular writer is authoring. And so what we're going to do is we're going to practice indenting this. It's very common when you have a long quote to indent it so you set it apart from the rest of your text, and you have shortcut buttons to do that for you. Right here, this increase button, if you click that, it will move the paragraph over in half-inch increments. Okay, so I've just indented this a total of 1 inch by pressing it twice from the left side. You'll also notice as soon as I did that, that these indent markers also moved over. That could be another way that I could work with that. And so, for example, if I changed my mind, obviously I could press my undo button, but I could also grab the left indent button, which is the very bottom rectangle, and drag that back. But if I wanted to have it have a paragraph indent, I could drag that one over. Now, you can do this in multiple lines too. So if, for example, with this particular document, if we wanted to change these two paragraphs so that we'd have a first line indent, meaning like just as if we had pressed tab, if you grab the top triangle when we have both of them highlighted and you drag it over, it will tab indent the first line of each one of those. Let's go ahead and re-add in let's press the indent button 2 times so that we have a 1 inch indent to help our quote set out or stand out. And what we're going to do next is we're going to jump to the bottom here, and we're going to create something called a hanging indent. And what a hanging indent means is you have the first line of your text at the left margin and then the rest of the information indented. If you look to page 112, you can see what a hanging indent looks like. So what I want you to do is I want you to highlight these 3 sources here. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to drag the bottom indent marker, the one that when you mouse over it says left indent, we're going to drag that a ½ inch in, and then we're going to grab the top indent line and we're going to bring that back to the left margin. So with each of these 3 citations we have, the first line's at the left margin and the second line's indented. If they would have been long enough that we needed to where it didn't all fit on one line, that would show. In fact, while you still have them highlighted, let's go ahead and bring that right indent marker from your ruler. Let's drag that over 1 whole inch to 5½ inches. And once we do that, you can see how it automatically indents then that information. Okay, and that's how you create a hanging indent. You wouldn't necessarily indent this section this far, but it's just to show you if you have more than 2 lines how it wraps for you as you're working with that. And I think they had us create a little bigger indent. Could we do the same thing up here with our long quote? Absolutely. Remember how we dragged that bottom indent marker a ½ inch over? Now if we wanted to indent this so that it stood out an extra inch. Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to grab this one now and see if it'll come that way. There we go. And when I clicked and dragged here, you see it changed my entire right margin. That isn't necessarily what I wanted to do, but it should be bringing that indent. Oh, there we go. I must have missed it. So now that indent is working for us as we're working with that. Now, you can also set indents through your paragraph dialog box. If we open that up here, and I'm going to go ahead and click outside of this, because you can control a lot of things here. Now where my cursor is, I don't have any indents at all, so I'm seeing that. I can set a first line indent or a hanging indent here, which we've practiced manually, and you'll notice they have spacing before and after. Before is 0, after is 10, and line spacing right now is set up at 1.5. And so we can make some changes here as we're working with that. Okay, so once again, with our cursor anywhere in that paragraph, at the beginning is fine. Let's go ahead and practice changing the line spacing for this right here to, with the arrows, you can click on them. Let's get it just to a straight 1, or we could check single here, but if we just did it at 1 and clicked on OK, you could see it took that paragraph and kind of squished the text together. It'll do it paragraph by paragraph as you're going through that information. Okay, so once again, I open that dialog box. I say, what is it that I want to do? I want to change this section to single spacing. Basically, when it was multiple lines at 1 rather than 1.5, we got the same result here, and that first paragraph is a little bit more squished together, if you will. Okay, the next thing you'll notice is we can control the amount of spacing before or after a particular section. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to make a little bigger space between the intro paragraph here and the following paragraph with this long quote that I have, if I come up to this paragraph section and I'd say I'd like to have 10 points of spacing or 12 points or whatever before and maybe 12 points of spacing after, that then once I click on OK here, you're going to see that it increases the amount of blank space before and after this just a little bit. So you can control and help things set off just a little bit that way also. Now, we've been asked next to change notice that these different sections here have been formatted as heading 2s, which is what we want them to be, and the individual text, when we look at them, are formatted with the normal way. What we're going to do is we're going to change the introduction, which is a heading 1. We're going to make its font size just a little bit bigger though, and so we could highlight that, or we could have just kept the cursor there, and we'll change that to a size 18, which just helps make that stand out just a little bit more. Okay? Then what we're going to do next is if there was another section, for example our references section, if we wanted that to be a heading 1, you can see that it goes to that 14, and we could then at that point change it to a 18 if that's what we wanted to do, center it so it matches these two sections as we work with them, so that you can be consistent with those particular sections. Now, when we look at a particular heading, which this is formatted as, you can see we've got this little dialog box. But if we want to change the styles, for example, if I wanted to, make the fonts a little different, the colors a little different, or update to some of these other existing styles, I can do that through that option. We're not actually going to practice this right now. And then there's also an option buttons here that gets you into a whole bunch of things, just so you know that they exist. But all we did was made our reference section stand out as we did our introduction section, just by taking that existing style and making it just a little bit bigger as we go through it. Now, the last thing that we're going to change in this video is vertical alignment of a page. And sometimes you were asked to either squish something so it all fits on one page, or you might change a little bit how it appears. Okay, and you can control this. One of the things you can control is vertical alignment. So for this exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to create a brand new Word document. Okay, so we'll open up a brand new blank page, and we're going to pretend we're making a title page for this research paper that we're working on. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to put the name of this particular paper, which is Health and Nutrition 101, reducing fat in the American diet. And then we're going to return down, that's our title, and we're going to put your name as the person who's preparing this, and then the due date for the paper, and we'll just use the current date. I'm doing this on February 4th. Okay, so a lot of times what we do with title pages is we center everything, makes sense, and then we might make the font size, maybe we change it to one of these existing heading styles, for example, or maybe you would use your own fonts for setting that up. I think I'll go ahead and keep that centered. And then I'm going to apply a theme to it. So once again, if I go to the page layout tab, and in this particular example, we are going to use the urban theme to help it to stand out just a little bit more. Now,